Well, have you ever wondered what it would be like to visit somewhere that didn't technically exist? It didn't feature on any maps. That it was hidden from everyone except the people who knew what was going on here and the people that lived and worked here. Privet, dobry dzień. How are you? I'm good. I'm visiting just that. I'm in the sleepy Soviet town, or the Estonian town of Sillamäe. We're here on the Baltic Sea coast, and we're going to have a look around the town that was hidden from everyone except for the Soviets and the people that lived here. So, why was this town hidden from the maps? I mean, you can see here from the actual, this is the promenade behind me here, and up here is the typical planned Soviet centre of the town. You have the walkway up to the middle, you have a kind of a viewing platform, but it's just the raised level of the actual town. Either side you have residential buildings or administrative buildings with nice wide streets, the way the Soviets loved it. Lovely and planned. Everything has a use, and there's a use for everything. Before I tell you why this town was hidden on the map, try and think yourself, if you were part of the Soviet political class, why would you want to hide a whole entire town? Would it be because you want everyone to visit there, or would it be because you want everyone not to visit there? Why might you want no one to visit there? So, it's very simple. This town, Silamäe, was part of the Soviet uranium enrichment program. So, this town was purpose built to house the people and the scientists that were part and that worked in the Soviet uranium enrichment program. So everything here, like I said, had a purpose. You have administrative buildings, you have residential buildings, and you probably don't have a whole lot else. Okay, so looking at the buildings here, it doesn't look like a whole lot has been done here since Estonia got its independence. These walls, maybe there was a bit of a small bit of upkeep, bit of paint, but structurally some of them look like they're cracking. They look quite good from far away, but when you get up close they're kind of cracking, and the plaster looks like it's falling off. This here is probably what it would look like during the summer, and to be honest I do believe that. It's just obviously it's April, or well, sorry, it's March here, and these flowers won't survive. But look, it looks really good. It's a lot more greener right now. You have the grass scorched from the colder temperatures, and it just looks, I suppose it looks Soviet, it looks quite abandoned, it looks cold, but yeah, you can imagine in the summer there's probably a lot more people here. Just talking to the Uber driver there on the way here, and he said that during the winter time it's really quiet around these parts. In the summertime it's heaving because you're on the Baltic coast. You have a really nice seafront there. So that statue behind me is to commemorate the 1917 Russian Revolution, and it was put here in 1987. It looks to me like this is kind of atomic, the bit at the top. I'm not 100% sure what it actually means or who it commemorates, but what's interesting is it was built in 1987, which was just a couple more years after that Estonia gained its independence from the Soviet Union, which kind of very interesting to see the relics are still here. Also on the statue you can see that this is Russian writing, so 1987 and whatever this says in Russia, probably some commemoration to the 70th anniversary of the October Revolution in 1917. You take card? Thank you. Спасибо. Okay, so we are inside the cultural centre of Silamäe, and this would have been used for holding concerts and things like this. And you can see the Stalinist style of the architecture actually inside here, which is quite cool. And there are some famous people up here from probably Soviet times. Very interesting, very grand look. And these columns, it's very, very nice. The chandeliers are so well done as well. Oh, this is a really cool place. I don't think I've ever been inside a hall from the Soviet Union. And look at this, just up on the ceiling here. You can see the hammer and sickle still displayed. And of course this building actually is protected. Look, another hammer and sickle. So the ceiling is very ornate and really well done. And you can see now how this was a secret town used for people probably of the upper class and very educated people in the enrichment program. Okay, this is the theatre hall itself. You can see the seating area here. Look at this. So you have actually pictures of Lenin up here, and look where people could actually sit up here in the actual upper levels. This is really cool. So you would have probably the upper class people staying up here, viewing the theatre from down here. Probably have a lower class here, but still all the same in the upper deck there as well. But look up here, Mr. Vladimir Lenin. That is very, very cool. Obviously the founder of the Soviet Union, for those who don't know. The detail in the actual chandelier. That's insane. Incredible roof. And you just imagine an old Soviet show going on here. And this place just packed full of people. Very, very cool. I'm actually really glad that I paid the €3 to come in here now, because it's not very often, especially in Estonia, that you'd see the likes of Vladimir Lenin still displayed, but of course the building is protected. Wow. Gonna take me upstairs now. Up left. Okay, amazing. Okay, now we're at the upper deck, the upper level. So rich people up here? Yeah. Yes. So this is where the more wealthy people would live. This is Soviet theatre, yes. Wow, look at the chandelier, incredible. This is probably the best view in the house up here. And you get an incredible view. As I sit down here, you can see absolutely everything. And you can see the lower decks down here. This is so cool. This is Lenin and Marx. Lenin and Marx. Okay, this is Karl Marx. Okay, and this is Vladimir Lenin. Okay, very interesting. Spasiba. Okay, so now we're going down to the bottom of the theatre. The Garter room. Okay, let's see what that means. Okay, so this is get dressed. So this is where they store the coats. So anyone that was visiting the theatre could store their coats down here. Now I'm not sure if actually the people got dressed down here for the theatre or if this was just a coat storage area, but I think it's just a coat storage area. Yeah, it doesn't say in English, but very interesting. So this is just a Soviet area and it's been kept in the exact same way as before. Oh, spasiba, krasibo. to look at this door. Yeah, that's strong. Okay, very cool. Everything. Okay, so what you saw there was inside the cultural centre of the town, and there was actually Karl Marx and Vladimir Lenin shown on a bust on either side of the stage, and I think it's really important to keep these sort of things, because I think erasing them, you lose the memory of them, and I think keeping them reminds you of what you have to lose if everything goes wrong. Now, I've been to Georgia and Armenia, and some people in them countries actually wish that they were still in the Soviet Union. And I'm sure that's the case for a lot of people around there, but there were still some obvious atrocities that occurred during there. But it's so important, I think, to be able to see some of this stuff, and I'm delighted that that lady brought me in and showed me what we could. And it's always interesting to try and communicate someone that doesn't have a word of your language and you don't really have a word of theirs, but you still get the message across as well, which is yeah, I'm really glad that I saw this in Silamäe. Okay, so down this side of the town you can actually see some more new apartment blocks, and say what you will about Stalin and the Leninist type of architecture, but it was a bit more regal than what you're kind of looking at here, which is just kind of bland apartment blocks. Now, I don't think that that's actually Soviet apartment blocks. I think they might be even newer style again, but yeah, there's a certain regalness about the actual architecture up in the main town, which is quite nice to look at. So this here is like the border between the new kind of ugly stuff and the older kind of more regal Soviet style stuff, the Stalinist kind of architecture style. But everything up here, like you can see, all the language is nearly all in Russian, although there is Estonian there, but underneath it is Russian. So you can see the Russian influence and the Soviet influence, and even the people around here were probably immigrants brought in from around the Soviet Union back post 1940s to the 1990s to take part in the enrichment program that took place in this town. As part of bringing in some of the people from the wider Soviet Union, the Russian speakers, there was obviously the expatriation or the forced conscription of men into the Red Army, which obviously still irks a lot of Estonian people today. They were forced out of their home, and a lot of them sent to gulags, forced labour camps. So yeah, I think Estonians generally have a not so fond memory of the Soviet Union, which is completely fair. So that's very interesting. So this here is the building of the town government, and it was constructed in 1949. But one of the principles of the Soviet architects at that time in regions with medieval castles and medieval town centres is that one building had to have a medieval element to it, and that's what you see here, the kind of tower, clock tower. And so it was Joseph Stalin would have been he would have been ruling at the time, and it was even he kept that principle in Sillamäe. So that's quite interesting to know, because you think that they tried to eradicate all of this kind of I suppose religious kind of, there's a kind of religious keeping with this. This is reminiscent of a Lutheran type of tower on a church. See, this is what I was saying about some of them being structurally damaged, that they're starting to break down, but still really nice buildings all the same. Okay, so this is quite an interesting building. It seems to be almost completely abandoned, but what you can see here is the red star in the middle of these carvings, or these shapes, which is Podna. I wonder what that means. It's interesting, but it's a really nice building, but it's kind of gone into disrepair. There's broken glass, but it has the same style throughout the town. It has the columns like plastered on, and then it has the archway above the main window, which is quite cool. And actually I wonder if this is a theatre as well, because see here there's like two faces outside of the harp, and that was also the same on the theatre up in the town. You can actually see some faces up here and the outer columns as well. I don't know if you can make it out in the camera with the sun, but there's two kind of male faces underneath a kind of a reed. That's quite cool. And obviously you can see the stars if you look quite closely at the top of every column. At the museum here in Sillamäe, and I'll talk a bit more about that in a while, but I just gotta go get my taxi now and I'm going back to Narva. Privet! Oh. Food and getting ready to go back to my hotel to get my bag, but just to explain, the museum in Sillamäe was actually really interesting. I met a guy inside there that worked there called Toyin, and he was very knowledgeable on the local situation and the actual fact about how it was a hidden Soviet town. And I would recommend anyone to go to and visit that museum actually, because it's so interesting. When he got into the nuclear program that they were running there, they were producing nuclear energy and nuclear weapons, so they had really intelligent people working and living in that town, engineers, scientists. And not only that, there was also so the town was completely erased from the map, like I said, but if someone was to send a letter there, you would have to put down codes instead of actually putting down names and names of places. So it's really interesting, and if I had more time I would have spent more time in there, but I had to get my taxi back to Narva. So I am going to get my bag and we're going to make our way to the train station then. One of these scooters again. Alrighty, we're good to go.
Ride started. Remember to ride safe and enjoy your trip.
Of course. I want to have a quick look at it. It's actually quite striking. I like the big tower on the top. It's a really nice building. Glad I got to see that now with the Estonia and the Ukraine flag as well on either side. It's very interesting. Doesn't say what it is on the side. Anyways, right, time to head for the train station.
Finished. Thank you for riding with us.
Into the station now, and wait like 20 minutes is what is needed. This is what the station looks like. Okay guys, so that is the end of the Silamäe video, and I just want to thank you all for watching. And of course, I had this realization when I was on the train how lucky I am to be able to go and visit these places and to show them to you guys. So I'm very thankful for the life I live and thankful for where I've been brought up and the people around me. But I want to thank you who have subscribed already, and thank you for watching. And if you haven't already, I'm David Without Borders. Please subscribe to the channel and see you next time. I'm filming one more vlog here from Tallinn today, almost like a bonus episode. Go check out the first video if you want the full Tallinn experience. Talk to you later.